welcome to the Decode. This is Rev 2.0 or 2.1, whatever we're officially calling it. We are excited to be starting our new season with our guest, Robert Fernek. So Robert hails from Slovakia. I don't really even know if he needs an introduction. Anyone who's watching this surely is going to know who Robert is. I guess a good place to start is, Robert, at what age did you decide that you wanted to become an electronics engineering mogul? Because everybody knows who you are. You're huge in the industry. Your videos, even our engineer here, our electrical engineer here, learned a lot of what he does from watching your videos on your FEDEVEL platform. So, what was your driving inspiration to get into this line of work?
Uh, Thank you for inviting me to your podcast. And so first you ask when this happened. Yeah,
Hmm.
basically, it was my hobby from I don't know, like when I was 10. My grandpa he was doing all this electronics stuff, and I really enjoyed it. But I never. There is actually interesting story behind this because when we had to decide after elementary school, we had to decide what kind of next school we are going to take. And when I asked the advisor, or the advisor asked me like, what you would like to do, and I was like, I would like to design machine. So she recommended a school, but it was the CAT school, not electronic. So actually, I was drawing all the I don't know how is it called, transmissions, for example, in car you have
Oh,
transmission, and I
sure.
had nothing to do with electronics. And after 4 years, when my teacher asked me like, where you would like to continue, like what university, I was like, electronics and programming software, and he was like, what? So after that, actually, I joined the university. I went to university, and I still wanted to do software. And only after first year at university, I actually decided to continue and do electronics professionally, basically. And what was your second
Sure.
question? I forgot.
Um, I guess I forgot it too. It's not important. What? So if software programming was kind of where you were where you were headed at first, is that kind of like, does that make something like an FPGA kind of like a dream to work on? Because it's kind of a mix of both the electronics and the software that it takes to make it work right. Are you involved on that side at all, or do you just do more strictly board design anymore?
Mm, I wanted to do more like applications, not really like hardware level programming, but because many people wanted to mm, be software engineers, and uh, my results at university were not good enough to go this direction. I decided to go to the electronics and electronics because I think it's more complicated. Software I can always do the kind of software what I need. Okay, I'm not professional software engineer, so I don't know about all the algorithms and everything. But I still can write firmware. I can do FPGA if I would like to do it, but I would have to remember again. I've done a couple of FPGA designs. I always
Mm.
forget. But it's same as if you are even doing board design, you might forget because you do, I don't know, memory layout once a half a year, and then you have to go back and you have to remember how I was doing this. And so I can do
Sure.
FPGA, I can do also board design and circuit, schematic, PCB, what is needed.
So, in the intro, Daniel kind of alluded to the fact that you really don't need an intro because you're so well known, and I think that's definitely true. There's not many celebrities in the kind of electronics manufacturing or hardware design, software type world, at least not in my opinion. And I think
Right.
part of why you're so well known is your YouTube footprint. Uh, I was kind of looking at some of your stats prior to this episode, and wow, a
Mind-boggling.
lot of people
Yeah.
are watching your content. So it had me
Uh-huh.
thinking. It had me thinking: Is there was there a video that just kind of went viral, and now Robert's really well known on YouTube and has all these followers, or was it more of kind of a slow burn? You were just putting out content, and it took a while for that to gain traction. How did you climb to your meteor your high level of fame on YouTube, if you will?
Uh, First, I would like to say YouTube keeps changing. So what is happening now is very different from what was happening like 10 years ago.
Hmm.
Uh, and I was learning, and I experienced all these different algorithms. So initially, it was very slow, as you say, but I never really started making videos for other people. I started making videos for myself. Because exactly
Mm.
what I just explained. After half a year, I wanted to do memory layout, and I couldn't remember all the settings and setups and everything. So I made a video, posted on YouTube, and when I need it, I go back to the video,
Wow.
watch it, and
That's interesting.
That's cool.
so that's how I started. And because I was using Altium, Altium was very cheap at the
Mhm.
time when I started my company, like 2013. Altium was like 4,000 euros or something like this. Uh, so I bought Altium and I started doing all this in Altium. And after some time, I realized I've got, I think, like 10,000 subscribers and it slowed down. And basically, I think what happened, I kind of saturated the Altium audience and it was very difficult to grow more because, there was only specific group of people using Altium.
It puts you in a
Yeah.
box, right? Too much of a niche.
Exactly. So the next step, what I was thinking about how to grow the channel was what kind of content could be for wider audience. So not only about Altium, but maybe doing PCB layout generally, videos about PCB layout. So that's what helped. And then I started doing the interviews. With interviews, it was very difficult because it's completely different content what was on my YouTube channel. And I'm not sure if you know, but the algorithm it works the way that basically when you publish a video, it first tries this video on your audience. And if people join because they were watching Altium videos, and you suddenly started doing interview videos, no one was watching, no one was interested. So
Mm.
Altium was, YouTube was like, oh, probably this is a really bad video because even your audience is not watching. So it was very, very difficult to actually get views.
So it just buried it.
Exactly, exactly.
Hmm.
And I keep having this problem. Uh, and I see many people have this problem. They start channel and the channel becomes like quite good content, good and popular. But you know, first you can run out of the topics, and also you get bored doing same videos all of again and again. So I can see also on other channels exactly same is happening. Like people try to change topics, but it's extremely difficult. And to answer your
Mm.
question, if there was something else what really moved is like super popular videos or something, a couple, a few good videos can move or can add maybe like 20, 30,000 subscribers. But it's very difficult to create them because, as I explained, it has to be for very wide audience, and initially it has to be also for your audience. These are very difficult videos to create. And short, I think we got many subscribers from shorts, but
Mm.
shorts are mm, kind of useless. Like only benefits are maybe the subscribers, but there is no other benefit from shorts.
That's
They
eye
don't count
candy,
towards your
right? They're just
and they don't count towards your viewership hours, right? I
Uh,
think I saw.
I think they do, but it's 1 minute. Not,
Yeah.
Right.
I'm guilty though at night. I'll get locked into watching a couple YouTube shorts, and next thing I know, 30 minutes has gone by, and I'm sitting there scrolling.
Hmm.
Just got. I like this one, tap tap, right? So it's it's weird. People want to digest the content, but you know, they also want quick new dopamine rush, new dopamine, new dopamine.
Yeah. And basically, I think to get 100,000 was very, very difficult. Now, when I moved
Mm.
to 200,000, I think it was maybe like only 2 years or 1 year or two. I don't remember exactly. But to get 100,000, it was very difficult.
So that's what's kind of weird with me lately. I don't want to get off topic here, but to get my first million impressions took me like 11 months on LinkedIn, I want to say 10 months. And then
In the last quarter, you did it.
in the last 90 days, I'm almost at like 940,000 impressions. I don't know what changed, like it's not much has changed. It's wild. It's just weird. It's like you cross certain thresholds. I don't know if it was the 5,000 followers or, and then I just hit 6,000 today. Like there's just these little, you cross a certain milestone and then it's just like opens you up to this crazy algorithm.
Mm.
But
I don't know exactly how it works, but I read that basically it's like logarithmic. So if you go from 1,000 to 10,000, it's as difficult as going from 10,000 to 100,000 and from 100,000
Hmm.
to 1 million. But going
A
from
million, sure.
100,000 to 200,000, that's not so difficult.
so weird. So weird.
I noticed you were talking about some of these issues. Was it you had posted this on LinkedIn, right? One of your recent video campaigns, you were really disappointed with how much work you had put into it and how much time had gone into filming it all, and then how little reach it actually got once you started releasing it. And I think that was a custom
Keyboard,
miniature
yeah,
keyboard or
keyboard
something.
tutorial, yeah, yeah.
Yeah. So, and there was a lot of people with different opinions naturally, and I imagine it when you have that many subscribers, and some of them came to you from watching Altium videos, some of them came from a board layout, some of them came from, they
Sure.
all found you different ways, right? And so then when you have a video that doesn't serve their specific interests or needs, and they all have you have no shortage of critical opinions to help you decide what direction to go next. How do you navigate through that? How do you, I mean, because no video that you release is going to be perfect for all 200,000 of your subscribers. So, how do you deal with the wave of people who are always telling you how to do your job differently? Because everyone has an opinion,
Oh,
right?
I just do what I want to do.
Mm.
It's uh, this is difficult because theoretically, mm, many people know how you're supposed to create the YouTube videos. I know how I supposed to create them. Like if you make YouTube videos about cats, you can get many views and many subscribers. But
Sure.
my question is like, is this what you want to do? That's the problem.
Right.
And
Hmm.
so basically, for me, it's more important to enjoy the videos and also maybe help because I know tutorials are difficult to create, but they may really help many people. And maybe they are not, they may not get many views initially, but over time they can get many views.
Well,
So
that's
That's
that.
yeah,
That's
That
great advice that we need to hear right now. Actually, it's super helpful to us in our current state because, I mean, we all have aspirations of growing the podcast, but one of the reasons we started it was because we literally just enjoyed talking to each other about all of these topics. And I think as long as we stick to that, if we don't worry so much about how to try to satisfy everyone or reach an even bigger audience and all that constantly, but if we're mostly just focused on, hey, let's do these podcast topics that we enjoy, because if we're having fun talking to each other about these topics, then there's a good chance that the people who enjoy listening to us are going to enjoy that also. So,
mm,
so how did you even how long were you thinking of doing that before you were able to actually put the idea into practice? And how nervous were you leading up to the launch of the site?
You don't know the story.
Mm-mm, mm-mm.
uh, I I mentioned this story. I think first time it was on the AMP hour. You know the AMP hour.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, sure.
Dave Jones and Chris, they do it.
Chris.
And
Hmm.
so I will try to maybe say a little bit differently. But
Okay,
the
sure.
main point is I never planned doing online courses. Uh,
Mm,
I was uh, when I left my everyday job, my idea was I had saving for 1 year, and I told myself I would like to create website which is going to make money. But the website was about project management. It has nothing to do
mm.
with online courses. But so I finished the website, but no one was using it. Like no one even clicked on the link and joined or watched the website. So I had to start doing freelancing, and I helped or had to. Friend of mine, he has a company, and he asked me like, I have this customer, and he really need help with some board design, and could you help him? I was like, no, I have to finish this website. I would like to do this website. But then I agreed, okay, that I helped him, and I moved to freelancing. I helped some other people to do the board design, and that's how I started the YouTube video. And basically, what happened? Many people started asking questions like about hardware design because I was releasing these YouTube videos. I was writing blog. Blog is not as popular now as it used to be, but in 2012 blog was very popular, and
Mm.
because I was receiving many questions, I created a form, Google form, and told people like please stop asking me same questions. If you are interested, then fill out your email address into this form. Tell me how much would you like to pay, and if 100 people will sign up and will pay at least $100, then I will create online courses. So, and that's how it actually started. So,
Uh,
200 people signed up. So I had to create the course, and I was planning to make 10 lessons, so 10 hours. And when I was in half, I decided to release the first lesson. And basically, after I made it public, this online course, in like first 2 days, when I published it in first hour, it was like I received $1,000. In next hour, 2,000, 3,000, 5,000, and next day I think I had like over $10,000, and I was like, I had mixed feelings. Like first was like, this may work. Like why I'm doing the freelancing. Like, and the second was like, what if everyone asks to return the money and they will not like it? Like, so this is how it started.
Now the pressure's on,
Yeah,
right?
yeah, yeah.
Now you have to do it and deliver.
And I had to
What?
finish. Yeah, it was only half
Yeah.
was finished. I had to finish all the 10 lessons, and I was like, what if people don't like it? And I have to start returning all the money, and so yeah, this is how it all
What
started.
year was that when you started?
2012, when I asked people if they would like to do it. 2013, I think I released very first course.
Something that's so cool about your story and what you've been sharing is there's already been at least two, maybe three times where a question starts with, "Well, I did this and it didn't work at all." Like you've admitted, like I did this, or at school I wasn't getting good enough grades to go the direction I wanted, or I started this content and it just crashed, it didn't work. And I think that's really important for people to understand is that people who persevere and just, keep trying, keep figuring out a way to push through. You were going to get there eventually, and you just had to find the right path that was going to satisfy that. But it's inspiring to hear that it's not like everything was just a straightforward, easy path towards all this success. You had to really try different things along the way to figure out what works. And so how did factory tours um, factor into that? When did you start deciding, okay, I'm going to start publishing some content of really impressive PCB factories? Because I know I, for one, have always wanted to look inside some of these huge facilities. So you're definitely serving the fans out there like myself who want to see inside these buildings. But what was the inspiration for that kind of idea?
Uh, so I was not really planning to do interview videos, and I was not planning to do factory tours because it's difficult. Even
Hmm,
interview videos, uh, many people I talk to, they are very busy, and it's
sure.
extremely difficult to even talk to these people. If you are like normal person, they may never talk to some of the people I talk. So I really appreciate this opportunity, but it's always something for something. Like
Hmm,
you can help them with this, they will help you with this. If you don't have anything to offer to them, you are not interested enough for them.
hmm.
So I was very lucky actually when I started my very first factory tour, and it was for Tierra Circuit. Tierra Circuit. They are
Yeah,
in Silicon Valley. I don't know
California.
exactly. I don't know exactly which
They're
part
up
it
in
is.
NorCal.
I forgot the
Sunnyvale or something like
name.
that.
Close to Sunnyvale, but it's not. I think it's where the I don't know which one it is. But
Yeah, they are in Sunnyvale.
hmm? Did you find out?
Sunnyvale.
Sunnyvale? It's Sunnyvale?
Yeah.
Okay, so it's Sunnyvale. And they told me like they would be very interested in this. So I went there and I recorded the very first factory tour. It was super interesting. I learned a lot of things, and the video is still on YouTube. And I think
They have a cool facility.
yeah, no, it was very cool.
Hmm.
And I think one of the very interesting things what I learned was when you have very thin drill bit, like I think 0.15 millimeter, I don't know how many mils it is, uh, it can only drill like 100 times. I was like, what?
Oh. And then it's too fatigued, it'll break or
It
it'll.
will, they have to change it.
Hmm.
But if you
It's
have like
dull.
0.3 millimeter, that you can drill many, many, many times. So that's one of the very first things what I learned, like when you are manufacturing PCB or designing PCB, consider this kind of things where maybe you are like, oh, they can do 0.15 millimeter drilling, let's do it. But it can make your PCB unnecessarily expensive because of
Sure.
because you don't know the process. And if you know the process,
Yeah,
yeah,
not just that too. When it goes through like black hole technology, if it's using shadow bath, for example, you have to do multiple passes through that to actually get, especially if it's going to be a plated via, because it's so small, it needs extra time in the bath to actually adhere to the actual. So something that should take a normal of 18 minutes to do a whole panel through that black hole
hmm
line, now you could go up to, usually it's another 6 minutes, so on top of that, but you could go up to another 12, so your 18 minutes is now 30 minutes. Obviously, you can chain gang the panels along, but even just that little thing right there, it's another step, not just in the drilling, right? It's now getting the actual plating.
yeah, and this is exactly one of the reasons why I often say people like don't use the kind of like limiting values of manufacturers because you can make your PCB unnecessarily expensive. Just give some space between what they can do and what you really need. And I guess this is
Yeah,
also about assembly sometimes. Don't go to extremes.
It's certainly true, even not necessarily to extremes, but just learning. for example, how thick film screens get made informed me why some would be more expensive than others. Like, Elias, do you want to explain the difference in the fabrication process of stencils or screens between a 45-degree and a 90-degree bias?
Sure. Yeah, we were just having this conversation yesterday. Aurora's working on some thick film screen printing, and with screens, there's a bias or the relationship between the angle that the mesh is oriented on the frame and the way that they're manufactured is on a square table, and the mesh is tensioned on that table, and then the frames are then bonded onto the mesh from there. So the mesh always stretches at a 90-degree angle. So if you require a different bias on your finished screen, then you actually have to turn the frame at that angle, and depending on what the angle is, it affects your overall table yield. So optimum yield is always going to be 90 degrees because you're following the native bias that the mesh is stretched on. And if you clock that at 45, now instead of being able to fit, say, 18 screens on one table, you can only fit 15. So the cost of expense goes up. That's to say, and I guess to apply it to this conversation, is if you need 45 degrees, then use it, but don't just use it because it's cool, right? Don't just pick that 0.15 millimeter hole because, wow, I can do that.
Yeah.
Do you actually need it?
Yeah, exactly. And that's why I like to make these factory tour videos, because everyone should know what is behind board manufacturing, because it can help them to design better board. And yeah, but for a very long time, I think it was a very first factory tour, and then I went I visited one PCB shop in Slovakia, and I still remember the video. Again, it is still on my YouTube, and I remember it because they were doing multi-layer PCB, and the guy who was putting the stack up on top of each other, he was wearing flip-flops, and it is in the video. Like, I was like, what?
That could have been Sean.
Yeah. Was he standing on a cinder block?
Yeah.
When we manufactured boards here, we had cinder block plating because you had to reach over to lift the panels out of the racks onto the next part of the pre-clean line, and then it was elevated in the air, so you needed to stand on cinder blocks so that way you wouldn't get copper plating acid solution all over your pants and stuff when you leaned over.
No one needs that.
But flip flops, I'd be too scared. There's too much. I would not wear them.
That's why that's why I remember it. But he was not. He was in the room where only he built the stack up, and then it went to the oven. So he was not in the room with the chemicals and I don't know what heavy machinery.
Probably pinning and pressing. But those machines get crazy hot when they laminate.
Do you think those flip-flops had any ESD protection?
I don't know.
I know they do make ESD flip-flops though. I'm being serious. And at that point, there's no components, so it's irrelevant, right? So
yeah, I know, sure. Irrelevant, another Sean favorite.
But I think it was okay. I just found it funny. You know.
Yeah,
sure.
Right. It's not how you would necessarily pick. If you were the business owner, you probably wouldn't be choosing that way to promote it, right?
Yeah. But again, I learned a lot because it was very good video because people could actually see how the stack up is built.
Sure.
I think before, I don't know if there was another video on YouTube which would show it. Now there are many, but it was, I think, one of the first. And then, that's basically what happened. And then I got more curious. So I contacted JLC or PCBWay, and I visited their companies. And JLC, wow,
I can't imagine.
Scale, huh?
Before them, I visited a number of different PCB factories, but JLC, huge. Like,
do you know how big their panels are? Because like typically we ran an 18 by 24.
They were biggest from all the other PCB manufacturers I've seen.
Because they have to be. It's not just okay, you make it on a bigger panel. Every machine that thing runs through then has to be bigger to fit. Like it
All of your conveyance and
every
automation, everything has to be able to handle that. Your
customized.
oven,
Yep,
everything.
Yeah,
everything.
yeah. The ovens huge, like huge, many, and the level of automation highest what I ever seen. Like in many PCB shops, there are always people moving the PCBs or something. It was it was very different from any other PCB manufacturer.
I know at Apex last year, I saw a presentation or a demo of AMR's, little autonomous robots moving around to replenish the pick and place lines and bring components to different parts of the line that need it and move boards from one station to another. So you're saying you saw that type of automation
Not really like
prevalent
robots,
throughout their whole
not
facility?
really
Or?
like robots, but the links were connected everywhere, like big links, and also the kind of machines they use because like the film. They didn't use films. In many PCB factories, they still use films and put it there, and then UV light. Everything was in machine, like machine directly.
LDI.
Yes, exactly. Even solder mask, everything. So yeah,
The largest one I've
Direct
been
image,
to.
is that what that is? Laser direct
maybe I don't
image, is
know
that?
how they call it. Yeah.
That's for exposure. But the largest one I've seen is my buddy Yash. He's probably 30 minutes south of me. He has 40 plating things. So literally, there's a guy there that's every couple minutes, 7 panels comes in and comes out because it's a
Wow.
cycle process. And so there's a guy literally there all day long, unscrewing and screwing, unscrewing and screwing. 7 panels off, 7 panels on, and just all day long. It's insane when because it coming from a guy. So we were very small, and I had a manual. I had a hoist that I had to press a button and it would go up, and then I would have to drag it with my arm, put it into the next tank, and then press the button and go down, and then I have to wait. Right, all of those are automated. So it's just you just see the claws going back and forth all the time. I can't imagine the scale of JLCs though, and then just the sheer amount of water it would take, right?
Yeah,
Because people don't understand how much water is flowing through a PCB shop.
yeah.
It's just so much. I can't even. That thing has to be probably more water usage than most cities.
I don't know, but also imagine
Nitrogen too.
a lot of lines. They need to have multiple lines because if something breaks in one, they have because uh, one of the things what I noticed was I could see every single process. This is not always possible. When I go to smaller shops, there are some of the processes they are empty because they don't have enough PCBs, and you can't really see the process what is happening. In JLC, everything was full. You could see every single process.
And it's probably like that every day, huh?
Yeah.
Just crazy.
So it was
They
it
have
was
to be the
very
world's
very
biggest.
interesting, and of course this is one side. On the other side, because they have this kind of high level automation, I think they have some limitations. For example, I think they mostly do through holes. I'm not sure if they do like blind holes or micro vias. I think they don't do it right now. I don't know.
Hmm.
Maybe that they had to make decision. We will be super efficient in this kind of manufacturing, but we will not do this. I don't know.
If they can figure out how to automate the LDI conveyorized, it's just a matter of time before they figure out how to automate those lasers. That'll be cool. Did you get to see one of those cut out? Anything? Laser drill?
No, I didn't see the laser drilling there.
Those are wild. It's basically like, you know how in routing you can see them route out the different stuff. It's basically that with the laser though, and it's super accurate. Very little delamination. I got to see my first one probably about 3 months. That was
They had those at Kawasaki 20 years ago when I worked there. They had these pipes that would get different exhaust ports and things like that, laser cut out of the tubing that they use for the frames and everything. So that was impressive 20 years ago to think about the tolerance and dimensions and the keep out areas and everything they're dealing with on PCB fab at this point. I imagine those lasers have to be, they're probably as expensive as this facility is. Those things aren't cheap.
I don't know. I only seen lasers when we visited, I don't know, 3D printing, metal 3D printing. That was one. And the other one was when I was in PCB way, they had the aluminum PCB, so there was laser cutting the aluminum.
Oh.
But I don't think I ever seen any other.
Did you see the flexible aluminum they got now?
No. I was
Yeah,
only in the rigid company.
I don't know how much I can talk about it, but there's a circuit board shop I know of that has this aluminum PCB, and they put these little score lines into it just enough so that way it can house into like basically like a can for a lighting element. It's awesome. It's wild because it's such a rigid substrate to work with, right? And for them to figure out how to bend this thing, wow. And it's still thick, it's still like a 062 or 1.6 millimeter PCB, right? Like that's not really easy to bend, especially aluminum. Wow.
No.
So, Robert, that kind of brings me to my question. I always find it fascinating when, especially, I don't know what it is about, because it's kind of like what we all hear about, like the American dream, right? Yeah. Born in another country, move around, come over to the States and make a name for yourself, And I noticed you worked in Slovakia, then the UK, and then California. You've had to meet some incredible people along the way. Is there any mentors or any advice you've heard throughout the time that you've done all of this that really inspired you or really motivated you or positive?
I think with mentors, okay, very short answer is no, because I think with mentors it's very difficult. People who are, I already mentioned this, people who are very successful or very good in something, they are extremely busy. And to find this kind of mentor, it's almost like impossible. So
Sure.
basically, my learning process was from design guide and experience building the boards. I was very lucky because in the first company where I worked, the owner he had no idea about electronics. So that's why I was lucky because he had no idea about electronics. It means he came up with ideas he wanted to build. And I had this opportunity to build all the kind of complex boards, which otherwise in like other companies where people understand what they are going to do, they may never try to build them. So
Sure.
in the very first company, actually, my very first job was designing IP telephone, like internet phone, and it was in 2002. So it was
VoIP.
Yes, exactly.
Voice over.
Yes, exactly.
Okay.
And imagine 2002. It was the time when PDA came out. Like
Sure.
so,
Palm Pilot and
Wow.
So I joined the company. I had no idea how to do it. I had no idea, but I did it. And then he come up with idea like, we would like to do car entertainment system in 2003 or 4. So I designed x86 board, which fit into the radio, and that was like my first x86 board, and I only was able to do it because he had no idea how complicated thing it was, and he asked me to do.
Sometimes that ignorance is a blessing, right? You're willing to take bigger swings if you don't actually know how much of a pain is going to be involved in it.
Exactly. And this helped me because then it was for me easy to actually find a job in the UK, and yeah, that's how it all started.
It wasn't so much about finding a mentor, but more about finding somebody who would kind of stay out of your way and let you work your genius.
Oh yeah, maybe that, and pay for everything. Yeah.
Yeah, sure.
For the experiment.
Yeah.
You can only, sure, there's some stuff you could do as a hobbyist or on the side, but to really get into a big complex project like that, it helps to have somebody else paying for it, right?
Yeah, definitely, because even first you will not get access to the data, because if it's based on Intel chips or something, it means you need to, behind you there has to be a company which can sign NDA with Intel. Yeah. And just when I was starting, PCB was like super expensive. Assembly was super expensive. So just building one board was like $10,000 or something.
Those were the days.
Yeah. So you needed someone who will pay for it, because usually you may need second revision. So it's not only 10,000.
Yeah, it might take multiple iterations to get through to the final design.
Yeah, right? Ideally, not too many, because if you are designing very complex boards, it's extremely hard to debug these boards. So you really would like to design it properly at the first time. But of course, sometimes you may need to do some adjustments, but it really should work first time, like, very well.
I know Peter Dvorak is a mutual friend of all of us here, and you know Peter,
I know
right,
Peter.
Robert? You've met at a couple events and stuff, and now he's got a course on your platform even, right? That's really cool. When I first started talking to Peter on LinkedIn, one of the first things I asked him was, "Hey, do you have any classes online somewhere?" And he was like, "No, this is such a huge undertaking. I don't, at that time he had no real interest in it. So it's cool that you guys ended up working together on that ultimately.
Because sorry for interrupting. I will explain.
No, sure, go ahead. Yeah.
Because many people think you can't make money by when you create online courses. But of course you can't if you publish them on Udemy, and Udemy will pay you $4. That you are not going to make money on Udemy. But if you make like real professional...
You named it. That was the platform I asked him if he had a class on.
Yeah. I have there one paid course, and I always make $4. It doesn't matter what kind of price you set there. They will always only sell it for discount for $10, and Udemy will keep $6, because they will tell you like, we will take money for promotion, for I don't know what. You don't have to agree with this, but then you probably sell nothing. Yeah. So you will get $4, and I can tell that one of my online courses, the advanced PCB layout course, to develop this course, it cost $100,000. So you would never get expenses back if making the course is $100,000.
Right.
So what I wanted to say, many people, they think it's only for kind of fun or maybe make some extra money, but for a couple of years, I was making over $250,000 a year on selling online courses. Now I don't make so much because I focus on YouTube and building the platform, so I don't really create new online courses or anything. And my courses are a little bit older, so they don't sell as well as it used to. And also there is more content now, but you can actually like make normal living full time with online courses.
Wow.
And that's why many people they don't make them because they think they make $10,000. But no, you can make 100 and more. But it's not easy. I would like to point out it's not easy. First, you need to have multiple courses. It's not only one course. On one course, you are not going to make so much money. And also, it's promotion. You can make any genius course if no one will find out about your course and no one knows you, then people are not going to buy. So that is another problem. That's why I spend so much time on YouTube because otherwise we would not have any customers.
Daniel's sitting there thinking about what courses he can put on FEDEVEL.
No.
I was, and I don't even design PCBs.
I don't have anything to offer in that realm, but I like taking the classes though. I love learning, so.
Yeah, I was just glad to hear your story firsthand, and it's really interesting to, you look at this product that is Robert Farnick and you think this had to be all orchestrated and thought out and planned and spreadsheet and PowerPoint presentation, but from what I'm hearing, it's like it just kind of happened. And I'm sure a lot of hard work is behind that.
Shooting from the hip.
There are more stories. Like I can mention. I don't know how much time you have, but I can mention.
No, as much time as you want. I just didn't want to drag on longer than you wanted to go. But if you've got a good story, by all means. Yeah.
So, for example, when we were building this new platform, the old platform was only for my own courses. But then I realized maybe we could create a platform which would also help other people to sell their courses exactly for the reasons what I just named. Like one of the very hard parts is to find customers who will buy your courses. And what happened, once you have a very successful website, many hackers will try to crash your web and I don't know. So when we decided building the new website, we have been doing it like for 1 year already. And I was still like, oh, it's not ready for publishing. It's not, we would like to add this feature. And then one day our main website completely crashed. And we had to use the new one. And that's how it actually started, the whole platform, because we had to switch it on.
There's no other choice.
And make it public, even if it was only like half ready. But it was ready enough. I thought it was half ready, but it was ready enough to actually run it. So this is another example. Like sometimes people may think like product is not ready or something is not ready. Maybe you are wrong.
Send it. Right? Just try.
And another story or another thing what I would like to point out when Sean mentioned my traveling between different countries. I see many people, they kind of, when they hear I used to work in the UK, then we moved to US, they are like, oh, because you were, I don't know, lucky or you are rich or I don't know. I would like to say it's not like this. It was very difficult also for me to work in the US or live in the US. It was very difficult also for me, also work in the UK. But I think anyone can do it if they really want, because it's not easy. And there are multiple ways how people can, for example, go to US and work there, but they have to do something for this. And usually it takes multiple years. It's plan. It's not like, okay, I would like to go to work US, and then in 2 weeks you get visa and you work there. No, that's not like this.
Mm.
It may be 2-3 years of planning and doing and working. So I would like to mention this for everyone who think they are unlucky, or because they would like to go to different country and work there. Uh, Start learning languages. Language is super important. When I went to UK first time, I remember when I had the interview over phone, they called me, and everything what I said was yes, yes, yes. I understood nothing. I only said
No.
yes, 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 and they invited me to UK to continue with the interview. I had no idea what you know. So my English was really bad, but I still got the job, and but it was a lot of work.
What year was that?
2005, I think, because UK opened to Europe. So for me, it was easy to go to work in the UK. We didn't need visa.
What's the hardest part? The language, the culture, or your family, or all?
Language was the yeah.
Mm.
But I was learning English 1 year before. I intensively was like listening to podcasts and all this stuff. But my brain, it's just not for languages. And even after a year, I couldn't understand. And British English is different from US English.
Totally.
Sure.
And
Even in the U.S., if you go from state to state, it's almost like we're speaking different languages.
yeah, but
It's
US is a
not
little bit
consistent.
easier, I think. Yeah, at least California or something like this is easy.
Yeah, if you get like one of our other guests, Alex Norman, he's from North Carolina, and they talk a little different in the South. That might be hard for some people to pick up on, but definitely not as bad as other countries. The comparison between our version of English and other countries, you're going to see a pretty big disparity there.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So I would like to just say everyone who has these kind of dreams to work in bigger companies or different countries, it's a lot of work, but it can be done.
Sure. So you mentioned how people might be surprised. I know I certainly was to learn how much you could actually make annually from teaching classes in that way. And you say you don't make as much now focusing more on YouTube as you did then, but is it more fulfilling? Do you like your work more now? Is it more creative? Is it, what is it about? I mean, is it just, do you like being able to tour these factories and explore this industry in all these different ways as compared to just teaching the same concepts maybe? Is it satisfy a curiosity for
Okay,
you?
so these are there are kind of two answers on this. So remember your
Hmm.
question, but first I would like to start with why I made the change, because I could still,
Hmm.
create new courses and make 250,000 a year, but this is process. Again, what I learned, like it always starts with everyday job. So in everyday job, you make, let's say, 50,000 a year or 60,000 a year when you are starting or something, and you never make more money. So you come up with the idea you would like to make more money. How to do it? So set up your own company or maybe do freelancing or something. When you do freelancing, you can make a little bit more money. Let's say you make $100,000 because you can charge a little bit more instead of $40 per hour. You can make $100 an hour, so you will make 100,000. But again, when you can very easily calculate if I work every single day for 8 hours a day for a whole year, you can calculate what is going to be the maximum you can make. Let's say 200,000 is the maximum, realistically 100. So what else you could do to make more money? No? What else? You need
I
to
got
you
something,
need to
but
make product. because when you are freelancing, basically you are very limited in the time. Like you can't sell more time than what is inside of the year. And how to do it is you can make product which you can make once and then sell multiple times. So I made multiple online courses, or I created online courses. It means I could be selling online courses even when I'm sleeping, for example, and I could sell many of them to many people, not only to one customer at a time. So I can make 250,000. What is the next step? How can I make more money? You need more people who create more courses. So you can sell also their courses. So these are the steps what you keep thinking how you could grow your business. And that's one of the reasons why I basically stopped doing the my own online courses, because I hit my limit. And if I would like to grow my business, I have to support these other people who will be using our platform. And to support them, it means I have to do YouTube videos. So that's how I come up with making more and more YouTube videos. It's the first part of the answer. Is it too long?
No,
No,
it's great.
no, not
It's
at all.
super insightful. I love that you're sharing what goes on in these decisions. It's really interesting.
Okay, and then the second part is if I enjoy making these kind of videos, the factory tours and interviews, I really like it because I really like I like changes. Even when I was doing I don't know x86 board design, motherboard design, I really enjoy doing that. But it takes like 1 year to design a board, and then you finally finish it, and then you start from beginning again.
A new one?
New
You
one.
just start all
Exactly. And it's, when you do it third time, it's like almost the same. So I need to change. Some people can do it. I know I have friends. They never complain. They can do same work all the time. They don't care what they do. But for me, I need to change. So basically, I was doing the motherboard design, then I was doing freelancing, I was doing the online courses. Now I do these YouTube videos, the interviews, factors. So I like changes, and I really enjoy when when I can go and see this kind of like. I have this especially I really enjoy the opportunities to talk to really clever people and visit these kind of companies and see what is actually happening inside.
That's what I loved about your video with Alex Norman. He was actually on one of your YouTube videos, and I was like skimming through it, and it wasn't just like we're doing here. He was literally going through and it was you guys were screen sharing of like different layouts and different why you routed this trace to this area.
That's so cool.
It was like really in depth. It wasn't just blah 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 blah. It was actually, hey, if you wanted to not only listen, learn from this as well. Very well.
Thank you. That's what I try to do because I'm exactly same like what you just mentioned. Like I really enjoy watching the videos which are beneficial and creating the videos which are beneficial. So I always say people when I start recording interview video, I always tell them the uh, the goal of this video is after people stop watching the video, they should be able to use the information from the video in their projects or in their future projects.
Yeah, and it helps for me too because I'm a visual learner.
Yeah.
So as I'm watching and listen, and then so not only am I learning with my ears, listening to you guys talk, I'm actually learning with my eyes as well, watching it, which helps me. I could read books and it won't stick, but if I can watch you do it, it'll.
Yeah, that's what I try to do because I like to learn also same way, exactly same way. But sometimes it's funny because I've done so many videos and I have calls almost every single evening, and I talk to many people. Sometimes they stop me and like, oh, how are you? Like, you remember we talked about this? And like,
Oh, sure. You must all the
It's
time.
very embarrassing.
Forgive me. I'm sorry. I talk to a ton of people.
It's very embarrassing.
Yeah.
And it's even sometimes it's fine when I say like, okay, I'm very sorry, but I talked to many people. I don't remember this. But it's more embarrassing when I'm mistaken. When I mistake someone for someone else, and I'm like, oh yeah, I remember. And then oh what?
Yeah.
I got a good line for that if you forget their name.
What's that?
So like you say, I'm sorry, what was your name again, right? And then they'll tell you their name, so Sean Kincaid, and then you'll say, no, I knew your first name, I forgot your last name, right? Because then it kind of makes
Yeah.
it a little less awkward, and then the only way it works is if they say their whole name. Otherwise, you got to say, no, I know your first name, what's your last name, something like
But
that. It helps.
on the conference, usually they wear the tag, and
Yeah.
when
That helps.
when I met the organizer, I told her like, I'm so happy you printed the names with the big letters. Like, thank you so much for this. And she was like, oh, I know exactly what we are talking about.
Because as you're shaking their hand, you're looking at their badge like,
Exactly.
yeah.
Sometimes it gets flipped over, and you're
They have it from both sides. They have it.
Yeah,
good.
there you go.
LEDs.
They're thinking of you.
Yeah, I know it's sometimes it's really embarrassing, but what can you do? Like,
It would be impossible to keep everyone's name and face that you're going to come across. I'm sure
yeah.
that's
And sometimes people look a little bit
inevitable.
differently on camera and a little bit
Oh, I've
differently.
noticed that a lot. Over the past year, I've met a lot of people that I've been engaging with on LinkedIn, and sometimes you'll see them across the room, and you'll be like, "Is that I think I know who that person is," but
So what other exhibitions do you go, or what other events you normally go to?
we're gonna
Apex.
go
So
to
we're looking.
Apex, but that's probably right about the same time because that's in March. Apex is in March. What's that? Embedded
Embedded
something
World,
you were going to? Embedded World. Where is that? International?
Germany,
Sure. Munich?
Nuremberg.
Oh, okay. Oh, that's right. That's right.
Yeah, but it's one of the best exhibitions for like for hardware design engineers because there are all the kinds of boards and yeah, it's sometimes
I think it was my buddy
yeah.
Glenn Kirilau in Australia was telling me about that conference, and I was like, "Oh, cool! I used to race on the Nürburgring in this video game, and it's not even this Nuremberg isn't even it's not even the same place. I didn't even know what I was talking about. Typical
Have,
American.
have you been to Electronica?
Yeah,
Yeah.
normally I don't go to Electronica because it's about components. It's a lot about components and
Is
some machines.
It sounds overwhelming.
is
Sounds overwhelming.
Electronica and Productronica different? Are those are different conferences?
I think they are different. I don't know what product. I don't know. Electronica is yeah itself. I don't know. Maybe
Because I was in Germany also, and it was supposed to somebody was that I know was comparing it to Apex, and they were saying it's way bigger than Apex even, which is
Electronica.
kind of hard to imagine. That one is for sure. I know. I saw it. Was it you who posted the picture of where you were going to be and of all the different
Yeah,
halls they have there? I mean, it just
huge.
looks so massive. Did did you even visit every
No.
hall while you were
How?
there?
Yes,
Yeah.
but I didn't go through everything. It's impossible in one. I only was there for 1 day, and I
Oh,
spent
sure.
some time. When I walk and people stop me for 15, 20 minutes, I I can't really walk too far.
You don't make it too far, right? You've gone 100 feet and you've had 10 conversations that's taken you 3 hours.
Did you
Yeah.
get to go to Slovakia afterwards?
Sorry.
Did you get to go to Slovakia afterward?
Yeah, yeah.
How much time a year do you spend out there?
In Electronica or in Slovakia?
Slovakia.
So we moved out from US again. So we are back in Europe. So,
I did have a question for you.
Mhm.
That's always I've always been curious about it. Components, they change often. Sometimes they come out with a new component or that can solve a problem of a design that you couldn't build before because they didn't exist. How does a designer find all of these new components that come out all the time? Like if you watch Peter's post, he's always posting about this new chip or that chip or this chip. Like how there's just so much data you'd have to learn. How do you how does that happen?
This is, I think this is kind of like tricky topic because ideally I would like to use the most generic components as possible. When I was starting with designing boards professionally, uh, I used to use these special components, and problem with this is they can disappear very quickly. And sometimes these very special components, they can be even manufactured by kind of unknown company, which can disappear, or it can be a component even from a well-known company, but because it's too specific, not many customers buy it, and it will just disappear in few
More
years.
expensive too, or
Maybe more expensive, but they will after 2-3 years they are gone, and you can't buy them anymore. So it's much better to use components which are more generic, even if it makes your circuit a little bit more complex. If you use generic components, you can even maybe use different chip manufacturer. Sometimes they are incompatible. Uh, so I don't really
but a much more stable supply chain,
exactly.
right?
Exactly. So I don't really like study super new components. Very often I learn about components when I do design. So from reference schematic, I can see what they use. But I I'm not like going through Texas Instrument and checking like what kind of new components they have.
Yeah, because there's always like Cree came out with a new LED that's insanely bright. Like I want to say 3,000 lumens each, super
Oh, good.
and you know, just finding that out. It's not like when I go through my Google News, I'm seeing political stuff, I'm seeing weather, I'm seeing sports. I'm not gonna see an article that says, "Hey, Cree has a new LED out with this footprint and that package," right? It just always kind of was like, how do these people know all this? You can find
Sales people will.
Stack Overflow.
Yeah. So usually if you have design company, then these component suppliers like Avnet or other big companies, they have sales representatives. They will go to your company and they will tell you what kind of like new components they have. But mm, very often, even if we had this kind of opportunity, and when I used to work in another company, I really didn't have time to listen to advertisement.
yeah.
Well,
Sure.
what's the process? What's you've got a design, but say just a standard SO8 IC, but so the footprint's the same, but or that's what it's starting at, but now you're going to choose a different IC with a different footprint, and it's one you haven't used before. I mean, what do you have to do on your end to actually take that part from, okay, I saw that, I like the performance and the features it has, to now I can actually use that part in my design? Because you have to create the package and create the you have to add it to your own library to be able to use it, right? You can't just plug and play any component you want to. You kind of have to define it before you can use it. Is that correct?
So again, this is like multiple part question answer topic.
Yeah,
Uh,
yeah, terrible at that.
because we can generally we can say you ask how you basically design the boards, because many people ask this kind of question. So how do you design? I have this idea, so how I create the schematic and PCB and how I do that. You go to internet and you search for a reference board which will have the features what you would like to use. And sometimes there may be multiple boards, so you buy them, you test them. If you need specific features which are not on the board, again, you find reference board, you connect these to the board what you already have, and you can build the whole system this way. And then basically you know all the kind of components what they use. If you use reference board, it means you can very often get also the schematic, you can get also the PCB. So you can import the schematic and you can adjust it. This way you can import the symbols, you can import the footprints, so you don't have to draw everything from scratch. So this is how it is usually done. Only if you do something super experimental, you do it from scratch.
I had no idea. That's really interesting. Why reinvent the wheel? Get a starting spot, kind of tailor it to your specific needs from there. You're not starting from a blank space.
Some people do it, but I don't know why, because it's like a longer way. And also, you would like to be sure it's going to work. You would like to work with something which is already tested, it is working, you know it is working, and also it has all the documentation. Like, why not?
Are you still using Altium even though they raised the prices and switched to subscription based?
So many of these companies, usually I can get the license for free, but I don't. Right now, I use mostly EasyEDA. I've done one tutorial in Altium recently this year, but I usually use EasyEDA. So you can upload the individual file, or you can just press a button in the software and it will open the website and upload everything.
Stream.
Yeah, it's
Dreamless? Is that a word?
Streamless transition.
yeah, but still, I don't use it personally. I always generate the outputs because I would like to check them and be sure. Almost never. When you have like complicated projects, when you generate the outputs for very first time, there is something wrong. Definitely, there is something wrong. So
I was
yeah.
I was so I don't know how to do this, so I just told the customer no, I can't. I tried, I can't. I don't know. I think I even gave him the Peter. I said, listen, hey, this guy wants to use JLC. I don't know how to use the website.
You need to watch my tutorial video.
Well, it was the coordinates, right? So what I get from the customer is just raw Gerber data, and then from there I get a build of materials, right? And then so orientation is not listed on a random just an exported Gerber data, and then also the reference designators would all have to be typed into each exact line item, and that's not how the customer is going to give it. So it was just I was like, and on top of this, Robert, we're talking about like I don't know, they wanted it for like $300 or something like that. So I'm like, this is stupid.
Usually they need to generate pick and place file for this. There is this kind of output, and that's what you just need to upload.
Because when I do the fab in house though, I don't ever use the pick and place output. Irrelevant. I do it all myself. Take the Gerbers and I map it out. And I put where it is and where it goes. That actually adds as another second check for me to make sure to confirm any components with the customer. Are you sure you want the polarity this way? Is the polarity this way? How is your marker? Because PCB design engineers don't always put the same silk screen indicator. Some might use a dot, some might use a long line, some might use a short line. do a horizontal, some might be a vertical. It's all over the map. But it kind of helps me. I'd rather build it right the first time.
Yeah, I understand. In this. Okay, I don't know. I don't have any other questions or topics.
That's good. I unfortunately still have to do other work. For us, it's not our evening yet, Robert. So we're gonna have to go back to our regular hoof and
Yeah, of course.
yeah. But I guess we'll tap back in. So Robert, just want to thank you so much for your time. Honestly, this was a dream come true for all of us to be able to talk to you in this platform. I know everyone's always uncomfortable whenever we start to heap praise on them. I'm the same way, I guess, but
No, you're not.
at least publicly. So we just definitely want to thank you for joining us. This is obviously the start of a budding friendship. We'll all be besties moving forward. So in a couple of weeks, we'll get to hang out again. Minus Sean, but that will mostly only impact him. So for all of us, here, we want to say thank you. And before we go, you have a whole host of things you do. So anything that you would like to plug and say, use this opportunity to direct people to your efforts, feel free to do that.
Thank you. So first, thank you for inviting me to your podcast. I really enjoyed talking about all this because usually when I do YouTube videos, I don't talk about myself. So
Sure.
so many people they may not know exactly the background. So thank you for this opportunity. And there is not really like much what I would like to mention. I think I would rather say not about myself and what I do, but I would rather say to people who are listening and watching your podcast that in this time there are like great opportunities to design basically anything what people want, and if they really enjoy coming up with new products or building some ideas, they really should do it because PCB is super cheap, assembly is super cheap. Now 3D printing is there. So great opportunities to build amazing products. Let's do it. So if someone has ideas, build their ideas. I think that's what I would like to say.
Great message.
Love that. Yeah, all of us support that thinking. So, well, thank you again. Thank you to all of our listeners. And at this point that you're listening or watching, there's been kind of a big break from our traditional every week having a Tuesday release. So thanks for hanging in with us through the transition from Rev 1 to Rev 2. And thanks again to Robert Faranek for being so gracious with his time to join us. So thank you all. Until next time.